Welcome back to Nerd News Today. I'm Matthew, and on this episode, we are taking a look at AEW Unmatched Series 2. As you can infer from the name, this is the second wave of the Unmatched series from AEW by Jazzwares. And in my opinion, this wave might be the strongest one that Jazzwares has done since that initial Unrivaled wave. And that is a very big compliment because that first wave was really impressive. Since then, it's kind of been a lot of ups and downs, but in my opinion, this one here, it feels like a lot more ups than downs, and yeah, we're going to get into this here in 1 minute. So joining the series now, their very first figures ever, we're getting our first rendition of Wardlow, we're getting our first version of Tay Conti, and we're getting our very first version of Sting. And rejoining the line, we have repainted versions of Santana and Ortiz and MJF. One of the major banes of all collectors' existences so far with this AEW line has been the sheer amount of repaints, but I gotta say, even the repaints of this wave, I actually think are really strong. So yeah, to me, this is gonna be a really great wave, and I've got a lot of high expectations already. But before I really get into this review here, I want to let you guys know this is actually going to be kind of sort of an incomplete review, and I'll explain why a little bit later on in this video when we get to that point here. But yeah, some things might surprise about how this one's going to be done here. We'll get to that in a little bit. But first things first, let's just go ahead, jump right into the packaging. And the packaging is basically the same as what you've seen with all the other AEW Unrivaled and Unmatched figures. And basically the style of the box has not changed between the two different series, but what does change is the color. So Unrivaled figures have the gold look on them, whereas these Unmatched figures have the silver trim across them. The fronts have a really big window display so you can see right inside the figure, and as I mentioned in the past, it kind of reminds me a lot of the style of how the old Jakks WWF figures were. But these things don't quite feel as clunky as those old Jakks figures, so to me that's also a pretty big positive. The back of the boxes have a really nice photo of all the wrestlers, as well as a fake signature. And most important, while there's no bio, it does tell you what date the outfit was worn on the back of this packaging here, which to me is a big deal. As a collector, I like knowing when that happens, and the fact that they're making us not have to hunt and dig around for it, that's really cool, so way to go Jazzwares on that. And you also get a look at the entire lineup for this wave, which you've already seen, so don't really need to spend too much time on that. So that's enough about the packages. Let's go ahead and get these wrestlers out of the box and into the ring to take a closer look at them. Alright, so let's go ahead and start this review first with two of our repaints we're going to be looking at, and that would be Santana and Ortiz, Proud and Powerful. So these guys got their first figures a while back, in fact, and I have those two figures, but I've kept them in package for the purpose of getting them signed one day, and also because I just didn't like the outfits that much on those first two figures, and I realized, you know, Santana and Ortiz, they're going to get a lot of action figures, and lo and behold, here we have their first repaint, and in my opinion, these are the superior figures to get. Now these are literally straight out of the box, and the reason why I wanted to do that is because I wanted to show you guys how all the figures have some kind of plastic around all of them. That's to kind of protect, I guess, the figures from warping, or I guess more so having their paint rub off on things. So I wanted to show you this also because there's one really cool thing about AEW figures, and I want to make sure everybody knows it, and that's they're pretty interchangeable. And what I mean by that is like what you just saw right there, is you can pop out pretty much all of the major joints and do some easy interchanging customization if that's something you're into. So it's a lot easier to do it on these figures than it is on the Mattel WWE Elites. And yeah, I'm just literally showing this off because I want to show you guys how easy it was to do that. Now, this also is cool because you can basically now swap them around. And what you could do is, if you wanted to, you can actually, I recommend you heat up the figure a little bit first when you do some of the other joints, but waist usually pops off pretty easily. You can basically put them into the suspenders. It's not quite the way they're meant to be, but it's close enough. But yeah, that's something that's really cool that you can do with them, is that they're interchangeable right off the bat. And the reason I like to show that in these videos is because when I reviewed the very first wave, I didn't actually realize that, and someone had to point it out to me. And I still see people in wrestling toy groups to this day commenting about not knowing about this feature. So I like to make sure everybody is, excuse me, Santana, everybody is aware of that as much as possible whenever I have a chance to let people know about that. There we go. Let's put him back together. Let's grab his tag team partner, get him back over here. So this is the new versions of Santana and Ortiz, and I gotta tell you guys, like, I think they're superior, not just because the outfits I like more, because I do like these outfits a lot more than what they wore in the other one, which was like kind of a gold look, which again is why I think those would be great for signatures, as opposed to these two guys. But yeah, these figures, I think the head sculpts are also way superior. Like the outfits top to bottom, they look a lot better to me. Like I like these outfits so much more than those gold. I like the camouflage look. I like all the little details that they have in them. But to me, it's the head sculpts that really have me going crazy for them. And what's really nice about both these figures is that they each have an additional head sculpt. So here is Santana's alternate head, and here is Ortiz's alternate head. They both look really great. Like, these are both excellent. The hair looks perfect. The faces look perfect. They knocked it out of the park with these two figures. Like, these might be the strongest two figures in this wave, but that's hard to say because this whole wave is really good, as we're going to see. And by the way, as far as accessories go, they each come with an alternate set of hands, because right now Santana has on the gloved hands with the Puerto Rican flag as well. Here's two hands without that, and Ortiz has hands that do have gloves, which are really nicely detailed, nicely painted as well. But yeah, I mean, on that note too, of the paint, I think the paint looks great across them. Like the tattoos look really good on both of them. Side by side, they look great. I mean, these are just really solid figures. Excellent looking top to bottom. I have zero complaints about either of these figures. You know, the outfits look great. The detail is great. The paint is great. I love that you get alternate head sculpts, because I'm a sucker for alternate head sculpts. It really adds a lot of value to the toys, more so than like putting in a chair or a table, as much as I want those things. Alternate head sculpts really give you a lot more customization with your figures, and that's always something I'm really, really into. So having that and having them both look so good, that's such a big plus for me. I mean, really, these are excellent versions of Santana and Ortiz. There will be more figures on the way of both these guys, I'm sure, but for what we got so far, yeah, this is definitely the version to get of them. All right, and now let's talk about two figures that are joining the AEW Toys line for the very first time ever. That's our debut figure of Wardlow and our debut figure of Tay Conti. So I gotta tell you guys here a little bit of a disclaimer. You know, I like watching Wardlow and I like watching Tay Conti. I'm fans of them both. But I wasn't necessarily going to buy action figures of them because I don't know if I'm that big enough a fan of them to get them. So what ended up happening was I ordered the entire wave just to make my life easier on ringside, because you know how it is when these toys go up for pre-order. It's nuts. It's crazy. So I was like, I'll just get them. They're probably fine, whatever. And I got to tell you guys, I'm really impressed. I'm really glad I got them because they both look so good. Get them a little bit closer together here. But yeah, like I like them both so much. I'm surprised how much I ended up liking them. Like, you know, Wardlow, the detail on him is really great. The detail on Tay Conti is really great. You know, it's like I was just saying how I think Santana and Ortiz might have the best likenesses in the lineup, but Tay Conti is pretty darn great too. And I don't really have a lot of big man figures, and there really aren't that many in AEW yet, so it is nice to have one, and that would be, you know, in this case, Wardlow. He looks pretty great too as the big guy. They're both just good-looking figures. I mean, I like the outfits on them very much. Wardlow's outfit, granted, is not that, you know, crazy. It's not that interesting, and really he doesn't wear anything that is interesting to begin with. It's just the black singlet. But it looks really good here. I think Tay Conti actually has a great outfit in particular. Like, hers looks really good. It's very nicely painted, top to bottom. You guys can see it's got the fishnet look. You know, again, it's not really a character who I'd be super into getting otherwise, but the fact is I had to get her just to get the whole wave and make my life easier. And I'm glad I did. Check out the detail, too. It has her little black belt in judo on her butt. Yeah, just a really nice figure. And check out that hair, too. You guys know how much I am into hair on figures, how important that is for me. And Ty's hair is very good. You know, here's a better look at her from profile too. Yeah, just really good. This is a great likeness. And another reason I'm so impressed is because, in my opinion, the women's figures from AEW so far from Jazzwares, they've been pretty lackluster. I've not been into them at all. Riho looked really bad. Hikaru Shida was okay, but still pretty disappointing. We just looked at the Britt Baker recently. That was pretty good. Brandy Rhodes, also kind of at the bottom of my list. But this Tay Conti, I'm going out on a limb here and saying this is the best female figure they put out so far. And that's reassuring because this is, you know, still fairly early on in the series. So I'm hoping that this continues to grow and they continue to make them better. So that's our quick look at Wardlow and Tay, but they also do both come with accessories. Wardlow has an alternate pair of fist hands, which is cool. Tay Conti does not have any other hands, unfortunately, but what they both do have is alternate head sculpts. So right now I've got the Wardlow screaming head on him. Wardlow also comes here with a more calm head, and that's also very good. Like, the likenesses on Wardlow are both excellent. Like, really no complaints about that at all. And with Tay Conti, we have a slightly different head sculpt. The sculpt is different, it's just a little bit slightly different. I think it's that there's no smirk on this head of my hand. And the hair is also, it's very, very different from it. But both look really good. In my opinion, the one that's currently on her is the better of the two, but they're both good. They're both really excellent head sculpts. Like, really, you guys, AEW Unmatched Series 2, Santana and Ortiz, Wardlow and Tay Conti, both are really great. Like, I don't really have anything to complain about them. Size, look, paint, sculpts, like, they're really, really great. But, you know, there are still two other figures we haven't talked about yet. So let's go ahead and switch cameras, and I'll explain why this review is kind of sort of incomplete. So as I mentioned at the start of this video, this is going to be a slightly incomplete review, and as I'm sure I've already figured out, you notice there are some characters missing as I was going along with this video here. So that would be this MJF and the Sting here. So why am I not reviewing these two figures? Well, let's go ahead and start with MJF. So this is a repaint of MJF. This is actually the third MJF we've gotten so far in the series, and I've gotten both of them. I got the first one signed, in fact, by MJF at New York Comic Con this past year. The other one I've had, and I opened it. And this one here, I think, is also actually pretty good, but I've decided to also keep this one in package because it's the first one that has his entrance robe. So like I said, I already have 2 MJFs. I really don't need another MJF right now. It's cool that he has an entrance robe, so I'd consider opening up at some point maybe down the line. Not entirely sure right now, but for the time being, I'm kind of holding them on in box just to kind of, I guess, figure out what I want to ultimately do with it. And as far as like a review goes of it, I mean, it's basically the same MJF you've seen again and again and now again. The biggest difference, of course, would be that he has his entrance robe on, which is really cool. That part is awesome, but it's not really my favorite entrance robe either, so I'm okay waiting for other figures to basically make a robe version that I actually enjoy more. In my opinion, among all 6 figures in this lineup, I actually think the MJF has the worst head sculpt here. And even though I'm using the word worst, I actually still think it's a pretty good head sculpt. It's just not really doing it for me as much as the other figures did. And even then, too, those head sculpts, they were okay. They haven't been my favorite MJF head sculpts. So I think what the problem has been the paint job on them. I don't know, maybe it's just like he looked kind of sleepy, kind of tired. It doesn't really quite look there. The sculpt itself looks good to me. Just the paint job, something about it, it's bugging me, it's irking me, so whatever. If you don't have an MJF yet, yeah, this is a good one to get because you have the entrance robe. That's really handy. That's really cool to have. Plus, you get the microphone, which we haven't really gotten a lot of microphones yet in this series, so it's good for that. It's still a solid MJF figure, so I'm not reviewing it not because I dislike it. It's because I have other plans for it. And if you don't have an MJF yet, yeah, this is a good one to get. Now, as for our other figure here, Sting. This is the very first version of Sting in the AEW line. It's actually one of 2 because there is another version of Sting. That was the Walmart exclusives. So this Sting is going to be part of their Luminary series, which is basically like a subset within Unmatched. That's why I got the really cool blue color on it. It's a really sharp-looking box. And again, my purpose for this guy is going to be to have it signed. I had a Sting figure signed actually at a previous New York Comic Con probably 3 years ago. And it was really cool meeting him. That was my second time meeting him, in fact. And I really want to get this version signed because I think it's just like the best looking version of Sting in quite some time. And I'm even saying that about the Mattel figures too. There really hasn't been a bad figure of Sting ever, as far as I can think about, really. There's been like some that have been kind of maybe questionable, but none really bad because it's Sting. And for me, this version of Sting is so iconic, it just looks really good. And according to the package, this actually is when Sting debuted in the company. This is from that episode of Dynamite from December 2020 when he first showed up. I think this would be a really cool one to get signed, so that's what I'm going to do with it. So while I'm keeping him in box, I can tell you guys, I think the head sculpt is phenomenal. I think this is a really good head sculpt. The paint job, of course, looks really clean also. The entrance jacket is amazing. The one thing I wish I could comment on would be that baseball bat. I don't really quite know how it's going to feel. I don't think it's going to be like super squishy. I think it will have a little bit of a bend to it, but not much of one, if it even has a bend. That's really like the one variable here I don't know about, and I wish I could give you guys an answer on it, because that's really like the main reason why I would take him out, is just to tell you guys how that is. But otherwise, we've seen this kind of tight rubber jacket before. I mean, heck, it's on MJF right now too. So, as far as that goes, we've kind of seen how these things work in the past. As much as I want to show it to you guys, I think for now I'm leaving this staying in package. If I get a second one, yeah, I'll probably do a review. And you know what? On that matter too, like I said with MJF, Sting here is not going to have any shortage of action figures. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot more Stingers down the line in various outfits, various different things. So I'm cool waiting. I think this very first version of Sting from Jazzwares, I want to get it signed. So that's why we're not really covering these two guys in this episode. So let's go ahead and get back to the proper review now. So there you guys go. That is our look at AEW Unmatched Series 2. A little incomplete, but it's still mostly there. In fact, just for fun, hey, here's MJF. I'm just going to have him in the back. It's MJF from Unrivaled Series 2, so we've already looked at that in the past, in fact. It is what it is. I'm going to take him out, in fact, because really, he doesn't even look that good compared to these four figures. Like, these four figures are so impressive. I really like how they turned out. And it's not that I had, like, low expectations coming into this wave. It's more that I just didn't really expect them to be as good as they were. I mean, really, look at these all lined up together. They all stand up on their own. They look excellent. I mean, these heads are superb. The paint on all of them is spectacular. Detail, of course, we've come to expect a lot of detail from AEW figures. Jazzwares has done a great job with it, and these really stand out. I mean, I don't know if you guys can even tell, Tay Conti's collar actually has her name on it. There's a little tiny tattoo on her clavicle. There's so many details on these figures, and this wave just really stands out. It's colorful, good head sculpts. I'm just raving about it because I really like these figures a lot, and I didn't think I would. And fact of the matter is, I will probably be buying a second Sting from this line because I want this Sting. I think it's such a good-looking Sting. It's going to look really good loose, just as good as it does in package. And same thing with the MJF. I'm going to probably get this one, even though I was talking about how I probably wasn't. I can easily see myself getting this one if it ever goes on clearance because I think it's a really good MJF. There will be no shortage of MJFs, but still, I think it's a nice looking one. So those two figures are on my radar, and really this entire wave should be on your radar because it's very impressive. It really is. And let's get real here. You're not going to really need to buy another Wardlow because none of his outfits are going to ever be that drastically different. In fact, I'd even say wait till they do a 2-pack with him and Jake Hager from the MMA fight because you know they're going to do that 2-pack at some point. I'd say even wait for that one, just get different hands, whatever. This version of Santana and Ortiz, one of my favorites to date. And Tay Conti also, I think still the best female figure we've gotten from Jazzwares. That could change, of course, in 2022. I don't know, but for now, very impressive. It's just a really great lineup. Highly recommend this one. So if you want to get this one for yourself, they're available right now on ringsidecollectibles.com. You might be able to find them on GameStop as well, Walmart, and hopefully Amazon, and as well as Target shelves too, hopefully. So yeah, keep an eye out for them. Really good wave to get. And I highly recommend buying this as a full set if you can. So that's our look at AEW Unmatched Series 2. Really great series. So what's next for the Unmatched lineup? Well, Wave 3 is coming, and Wave 3 is the Dark Order wave. And that's going to be the wave with the debut figure of Brody Lee. Cannot wait for that one. So keep your eyes open for that pre-order to drop on Ringside any day now. So that's it for this review. Let me know what you think of the figures in the comments below, and if you're new to the channel, please subscribe to Nerd News Today. Let me know in the comments what you think of this entire wave, and if you agree with my opinion about them. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. So until next time, I'm Matthew. This has been Nerd News Today. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys later.